वापस स्ट्रीम बंद हो गई। चलो नया लाइव चालू हो गया, वापस एक और बार चालू किया है भाई। मैं लोगों को लिंक भेज रहा था भाई, मेरे वीडियो आए, वो लाइव स्ट्रीम चालू किया है मैंने, तब तक लाइव स्ट्रीम बंद हो गया। चलो कोई नहीं, नया लाइव स्ट्रीम चालू हो गया बराबर। 16-17 सेकंड चल रहा है, चलने दो, ठीक है। Borewells and dugwells are used to raise the underground water table by collecting rainwater on the rooftop of building, which is then diverted by drain pipes to filtration tank. From there it flows into the borewell or dugwell. Recharge pit excavated into the ground lined with the brick or stone wall with opening at regular intervals. Percolation pit is bored hole surface runoff. कौन आया भाई मेरा वीडियो देखने? पफ के व्लॉग्स भाई, मेरा कजन ब्रदर आया भाई। लिंक्स from wells, tanks, tube wells, canals, etc. From the point of view of sustained agriculture production and all-round development, water is the most precious resource. Presently, about 92% of water is used for agriculture, 2% for industries and 6% for drinking and domestic purposes. भाई वापस आ गया लाइव स्ट्रीम के साथ। हेलो पफ के व्लॉग्स, पर्व नाम है तेरा, कुछ लिख दे चैट में, समझ जाऊँ मैं तू है गया, ठीक है भाई। About 55% of the net sown area in the country depends on the rainfall to sustain crop production. Success in dry farming depends on the moisture conservation practices and judicious uses of available water for irrigation. Under this situation, to imperative utilize artificial means to raise crop in India, irrigation has been practiced from ancient times. A number of artificial lakes and canals that dot the country are centuries old, and some of them have served for more than thousands of years. The notable examples are the two big tanks in Chingalaput. मेरे को लगता है इम्पोर्टेंट है, मैं नहीं पढ़ रहा, सीधा अनसर्टेनिटी ऑफ रेनफॉल पे जाएंगे। The rainfall in India is highly irregular in place, and the time that is normal rainfall is marked by wide fluctuations in different parts of the country. Sometimes the monsoon arrives early, sometimes late. Not only in the arrival and the withdrawal of rainfall uncertain, but also in the continuity, rhythm and intensity. The rainfall is not regular throughout the rainy season, leading to water scarcity and withdrawing of the crops. Hence, irrigation is the only means to supplement rainwater to raise crops. Uncertainty of the rainfall, uneven distribution of the rainfall, crop requirements, और ये दो और पॉइंट। तो uncertainty of the rainfall पढ़ा। The rainfall is uncertain. It can fall at any time, little early, little late, at intensity, different rhythm, different continuity. Hence, the irrigation is the only means to supplement to rainwater to raise crops. Uneven distribution of rainfall. In the distribution of rainfall is quite uneven. Most parts of the country receive 80% of the annual rainfall from June to September. From the southwest monsoon, Western Ghats and the south and the northeastern India receive more than 250 cm. Require different quantities of water for their growth. तो ये हम पढ़ रहे हैं वाइज इरिगेशन नेसेसरी। इरिगेशन नेसेसरी क्योंकि कभी भी अनसर्टिनिटी है रेनफॉल की, कभी गिरती है कभी नहीं गिरती है। अनइवन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन किधर ज़्यादा गिरती है किधर कम गिरती है। और क्रॉप रिक्वायरमेंट किधर राइस को अगर कम चाहिए, मेज को ज़्यादा चाहिए, इसलिए मोस्ट ऑफ द क्रॉप्स नॉट रिक्वायर वाटर when they are maturing. However, grain crops require more water during the time year heads are formed. India has 3 cropping seasons: Kharif, Rabi and Zaid. Kharif, Rabi and Zaid. The Kharif crops, which occupy the largest area in the country, are dependent on the monsoon rain, where irrigation facilities are not developed. These crops are grown as rain-fed crops. Rabi crops are grown on the soil moisture which is left after the harvest of Kharif crops or over the area where assured supply of irrigation is available. चालू है लाइव स्ट्रीम, चालू रहे रुक जा 1 सेकंड यार, बंद मत होना, चालू है। Rabi crops are grown on the soil moisture which is left after the harvest of kharif crops or over the area where a short supply of irrigation. Commercial crops like sugarcane need higher quantity of water as they require frequent watering, which could be managed through efficient irrigation system. Nature of the soil. The water requirement of different crops depends on the nature of the soil. For example, clay soils have high moisture content holding capacity and therefore require less irrigation. On the other hand, the sandy loams have less moisture retentive capacity and need frequent watering, hence drip irrigation is suitable in dry region. Similarly, the level and the lowland area require less water than the sloping and highland areas to utilize river water effectively. Many rivers in India are not perennial and carry insignificant flows during the Rabi season. There is also a wide disparity in the water flow from year to year. The rivers of central and southern India have water for the 4 months of season and remain largely dry in 8 months of the year. Therefore, effectively utilize the water of the rivers, means of irrigation have to be used. Means of irrigation: wells, canals, tube wells, टैंक्स और ड्रिप इरिगेशन है. मॉडर्न में फरो और स्प्रे कैंसल है, खाली ड्रिप इरिगेशन है. बता देता हूँ 10th ICSE का सिलेबस है. 2 लोग आ गए भाई. कौन आए 2 लोग? हाय भाई, जो भी आया है हाय हाय लिख दो यार चैट में यार, पता तो चले कौन आया है. मेरी तरफ से भी भाई तुम लोग के लिए हाय भाई. कौन आया है? 2 लोग आए, पता नहीं कौन. ठीक है आए, मैंने हाय लिख दिया भाई मेरा. अच्छा मम्मी और यही होगी. ठीक है भाई. तो अभी पहुंचे हम मीन्स ऑफ इरिगेशन. अबे 2 लोग वापस चले भी गए. ठीक है. Based on the availability of surface and groundwater, relief soils and climatic conditions, different means of irrigation are utilized in India. For example, in the crystalline soil area of Deccan Plateau, tanks from major source of irrigation, whereas the alluvial tracts of the Gangetic and coastal plains are best suited for the canal and irrigation. Wells, direct wells पर तो ये तो ना important नहीं लग रहा है. Wells, a well is a small hole dug in the surface of the earth to obtain water from the water table for irrigation and other purposes. A well is a small hole dug in the earth's surface to obtain water from the water table for irrigation and other purposes. Wells are usually of 2 types, lined and unlined. Lined wells are man-made. They are artificially constructed by digging into a ground and by supporting the wall with bricks in a circular pattern. And unlined wells are formed naturally phenomena and are not protected by lining. Well irrigation is a cheap, simple and dependable source of irrigation. Well, cheap, dependable and simple source of irrigation. It is practiced in an area where plenty of groundwater is available up to the depth of water table does not exceed 15 meter. ये 2 उसके वो है कि ये होना ही चाहिए, मतलब वाटर लेवल अच्छा रहना चाहिए और अप टू द डेप्थ ऑफ 15 मीटर एरिया. Well irrigation is confined mainly to the alluvial plains where, owing to the soft nature of the soil, wells can easily be dug and the yield crops from the land after irrigation is considerably high. Wells are dug in the middle of the area to be irrigated and the yield of crops from the land over irrigation is considerably high. Wells are dug in the middle of the area to be irrigated and at a place which is relatively at high level. The presence of perennial river ensures the water table is recharged. The areas where well irrigation is practiced include Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Goa, Haryana, Bihar, Rajasthan, etc. Persian wheel method, lever method, inclined plane method. मेरे को पता नहीं अभी है कि नहीं, मैं एक बार के लिए अभी के लिए छोड़ रहा हूँ. बाद में नेक्स्ट लाइव स्ट्रीम में अगर होएगा तो आपको बता दूंगा. तो ये पार्ट मैं अभी श्योर नहीं हूँ, इसलिए अभी मैं छोड़ रहा हूँ. ठीक है, अभी एडवांटेजेस पे जाते हैं और डिसएडवांटेजेस का भी पता नहीं, एक बार खाली रीड कर देता हूँ, वो भी शायद तक है कि नहीं पता नहीं है. ठीक है. Advantages of well irrigation. Well can be dug at a very low cost, which is well within the means of poor farmers. Oxen, which are kept for plowing the land, can be utilized for drawing water from the wells at no extra cost to the farmers. Wells can be dug at very low cost, well within the means of poor farmers. Oxen, which are kept for plowing, can be utilized for drawing water outside. By the use of pumps and tube wells, water can be lifted from the great depths. Disadvantages, अभी भी बोल रहा हूँ, नहीं पता मेरे को और ये पोर्शन व्हील मेथड, ये मेथड है कि नहीं, ये टाइम पोर्शन में मतलब बोर्ड एग्जाम में मैं आपको बता दूंगा नेक्स्ट लाइव स्ट्रीम में. तो भी एक बार डिसएडवांटेजेस रीड कर देता हूँ. द डिवाइस इज एक सेकेंड. अच्छा भाई, ये सब भी डाल सकते हैं हम. टोपी, चश्मे, ये सब भी ऑप्शन आ रहे हैं. ठीक है, मैं नहीं डाल रहा भाई. क्यूट वाला डाल देते. क्यूट पता नहीं चेंज हुआ कि नहीं. ठीक है. डिसएडवांटेजेस ऑफ वेल इरिगेशन. Wells depend on underground source whose distribution varies from region to region. It is difficult to dig wells or bore tube wells in hilly region. The traditional wells dry up due to over withdrawal of groundwater. Availability of electricity and diesel to operate a tube well may become costly for farmers. Tube wells शायद तक है नहीं है. मेरा भाई तू मेरी जान है, मेरा भाई तू. अरे तन्मय का फोन आया था अभी भाई. डिस्टर्ब कर रहा है भाई. फोन से लाइव स्ट्रीम चल रहा है, फोन कर रहा है भाई. लाइव में आना, लाइव आके बात कर. तन्मय पता देख तो नहीं रहा, पता किसको बोल रहा हूँ मैं. ठीक है, ट्यूबवेल पढ़ लेते हैं. A tube well is deeper well at the depth of 20 to 30 meter from which water is lifted up with the help of power driven pumps. It is also known as lift method. The ideal conditions for drilling or tube wells are. वापिस कोई एक आ गया. कौन आया है भाई? तन्मय तू आया है? कौन है? The ideal conditions for the drilling of tube wells are availability of plenty of water at greater depths, level land and soft soil for the tube well to be set up, large fertile area in its surrounding area to be irrigated. कौन है भाई? हाय हेलो कुछ लिख दो. And availability of regular cheap electricity to run the tube. Tube wells are used in the northern plains in the states of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, etc. etc. The availability of plentiful water at great depths. ये क्या है? The ideal conditions for a tube well. Large fertile area in its surrounding area to be irrigated and availability of regular cheap electricity to run the tube wells. Availability of plentiful water at great depths. जो नया ज्वाइन हुआ है इसको बता देता हूँ. वाटर रिसोर्सेज कर रहे हैं चैप्टर नंबर 11. बहुत दिन बाद में लाइव आया हूँ. पढ़ना है तो पढ़ लो मेरे साथ, टाइम पास करो, जो करना है करो. Advantages of tube well. It is an independent source of irrigation. It brings up clean water. It can irrigate large area of agricultural land. It is easier to bring up large amount of water in a short time, and it is a perennial means of irrigation as it is drilled up to a permanent water table. It can be switched off when not required. Advantages एक बार वापस पढ़ेंगे. Independent source of irrigation. It is useless if the water is brackish. It is expensive as it requires continuous supply of electricity. Excessive use of tube well water can lead to depletion of groundwater. अपना सब यूट्यूबर्स का एक ही चीज़ जो सब यूट्यूबर्स लिखते रहते हैं वो मैं लिख रहा हूँ. पता नहीं भाई, मेरे को दिख ही नहीं रहा मैं क्या लिख रहा हूँ. कुछ भी लिख रहा हूँ भाई, नहीं दिख ही नहीं रहा मैं क्या लिख रहा हूँ. कुछ तो लिखा है, देखने दो, नहीं समझ रहा. इधर आया मेरा कमेंट, आएगा 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 आएगा। डिसएडवांटेजेस, सब्सक्राइब लाइक एंड शेयर, बराबर स्पेलिंग आया, हाँ ठीक है। Disadvantages of tube well irrigation: it is expensive as it requires continuous supply of electricity. It is useless if the water is brackish. Excessive use of tube well can lead to depletion of groundwater. Canals. India has one of the largest canal systems, stretching over more than 1 lakh kilometers. In दो टाइप के कैनल है, inundation canal, perennial canal. Inundation canal are the canal which are directly connected to the rivers without any construction of any barrage or dam. Barrage मतलब वो stop, जो water को stop करता है. बराबर पता नहीं. Such canals use the excessive water of rivers at the time of floods and remain operational during rainy season. As the beds of these canals are at the level higher than those of the rivers, they got supply. High level than those of the rivers, they get supply of water only when the rivers are in flood. Therefore, these canals have limited use. Perennial canals. These canals are taken out from a perennial river by constructing barrages or dams to regulate the flow of water. They can draw water out throughout the year and irrigate large areas. Most of the canals in India belong to this category. Canal irrigation is in the practice in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, etc. Inundation और perennial canal के difference है कि inundation canal can be dry. Perennial canal is always full of water throughout the year. It is directly connected to the rivers. It is connected through the dam. It is constructed and then connected through the dam and barrages. Okay, bas. Advantages of canal irrigation. Canal irrigation has enabled Punjab and Haryana to be called as the granary of the country and new. In areas like Rajasthan, canals are provided to be boon. In canal region, Punjab, Haryana, they have caused the granary of the country, and rainfall deficiency in some areas made up of canals taken out from the perennial rivers and major part of the Tamil Nadu. कुछ अलग है, इमोजी को डाल सकता हूँ, चैट वैट दिखे, क्या है ये सब? तुम लोग को चैट दिख रही है क्या? मेरे को ये नहीं पता. मतलब तुम लोग तो लिख रहे हो, लेकिन नहीं, मैं ये ट्राई कर रहा हूँ कुछ, तो क्या है पता नहीं. ठीक है, हो जाएगा. ओह, लाइव चैनल, लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब वाला डाल देते हैं और अपना बैठ जाते हैं वापस. एडवांटेजेस एट कैनल हो गया, फिर डिसएडवांटेजेस. लाइव ब्रॉडकास्ट, बस, बाकी सब अच्छे नहीं है. ये क्यों हटाया? ठीक है, लाइव शो ब्रॉडकास्ट, ठीक है, अच्छा. Disadvantages of canal irrigation. At some place where the perennial unlined canals flow at the ground level and between raised high banks, the water table may reach the surface and make the once cultivable soil completely waterlogged. मतलब overflow of water indirectly. शायद तक, हाँ. अबे मुंह कैसा लग रहा है मेरा इसमें, शिट, बहुत अजीब है ये. इसमें नेचुरल कलर और क्या आएगा मेरे को समझ नहीं रहा है. नहीं भाई, मैं हटा रहा हूँ बस. In the canal irrigation, where the water table is few feet below the ground, the alkaline salts come to the surface, mix with the soil and make it unproductive. Due to waterlogging, the capacity of soil to absorb water decreases, so the few centimeters of rainfall in excess of the normal covers the land with sheet of rainwater which in the absence of proper drainage ruins the standing crops, houses and even stored food grains and food. टैंक्स तो है. मॉडर्न इरिगेशन में फरो एंड स्प्रे इरिगेशन आर कैंसल्ड. याद रख लो, मुझे भी किसी और से पता चला. Tanks refers to small bund of earth or stones built across a stream to impound water, which is then led through narrow channels to the cultivated fields. Tank irrigation is in practice in peninsular India, including Maharashtra and Gujarat. Tanks constitute a special feature of irrigation in the Deccan because of the following reason. The rivers of the Deccan are not snow-fed and are mainly dependent on the fresh water. थोड़ी सी विंडो खोल रहा हूँ, गर्मी लग रही है, पंखा बंद है, आवाज़ अच्छे से नहीं आएगी फिर. There are main streams which become torrential during the rainy season but dry up when the rain ceases. The hard rocks in the area do not absorb water, so wells also cannot be made there. But the tanks can be easily made by means of making dams in the hollow space in which rainwater is stored in large quantities for distributing regular supply of water through the channels to the arable lands in the dry season. The terrain of the Deccan Plateau is very uneven with many natural depressions where the tanks can be easily built. Tank irrigation has reached its highest perfection in the south, especially in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. It is significant in the districts of Chingleput, in the southern part of especially some. ठीक है, कुछ नहीं था. Tanks का ये वापस पढ़ लेते हैं एक बार. Tanks constitute a special feature of irrigation in the Deccan because of the following reason. Special feature in irrigation of the following Deccan because of the following reason. The rivers of Deccan are not snow-fed and are mainly dependent on the rainwater. The rivers of Deccan are not snow-fed and mainly dependent on rainwater. There are many streams which become torrential during the rainy season but dry up when the rain ceases. Torrential मतलब dry, नहीं sorry wet. हाँ वही होगा. The hard rock in there do not absorb water well, but wells can also not be made. So tanks can easily be made and it can fill the hollow spaces in water stored in large quantities for distributing regular supply of water through it. The terrain of Deccan Plateau is very uneven with many natural depressions where tanks can be easily built. Advantages of tank irrigation. In the uneven plateau of peninsular India, where rainfall is highly seasonal, tank irrigation is useful. In the large stretches of the Indian plateau, due to hard rocky terrain, wells and canals are difficult to construct, so only tank irrigation is feasible. In the rocky terrain, ना wells बन सकते हैं, ना canals बन सकते हैं, क्या बन सकते हैं? खाली tanks. Tank irrigation is highly significant in storing the abundant rainwater that would otherwise flow out of and go waste. The tank irrigation is highly significant in storing an abundant rainwater. Otherwise the water would go in waste. ये मैंने अच्छा सेट कर दिया भाई. ठीक है, बराबर दिख रहा है ना? Disadvantages of tank irrigation. Tanks get silted up soon and regular distill is required to make them suitable for irrigation. Easy point देखते हैं यार. When the monsoon fails, these tanks go dry and therefore are not dependable source of irrigation. Dry हो जाते हैं जब बारिश नहीं होती. Most of the tanks are non-perennial and become dry during the winter and summer season. Seasonal when water is urgently required for Rabi and Z crop. In summer season, Rabi and Z crop require water. In summer season, तो बारिश नहीं होती तो टैंक नहीं भरते, तो फालतू इरिगेशन है. Tanks occupy a large fertile area which otherwise could have been utilized for growing crops. बस ये 3 पॉइंट हो गए याद. फॉरो इरिगेशन ये नहीं है. ड्रॉबैक्स ईजी आप कर लेना खुद से. आप लोग कितना पढ़ेगा भाई. मैं ड्रिप इरिगेशन पढ़ते हैं, फिर लूँगा मैं थोड़ा सा छोटा सा ब्रेक. इसके बाद एक और नेक्स्ट लाइव स्ट्रीम चालू होगी. उसमें हम शायद तक क्वेश्चन आंसर्स या नया चैप्टर चालू करेंगे, तो वो भी लाइव स्ट्रीम ज्वाइन करना. इधर भी कोई ज्वाइन नहीं किया है वैसे, लेकिन फिर भी. It is the most advanced and efficient method of irrigation, usually used to irrigate fruits and vegetables. This system consists of perforated pipes that are placed between rows of crops or buried along their root lines and give water directly onto the crops. As a result, evaporation is drastically reduced and irrigation water is conserved. Drip irrigation allows the grower to customize an irrigation program most beneficial to each crop. Sprinkler irrigation. In this method of irrigation, a pipe fitted with a nozzle on the top used to throw water which is sprayed directly to the required plant is often referred to as overhead irrigation. Advantages: no loss of water by seepage, no loss of water by evaporation. Disadvantages: expensive, helpful for small area, used for crops which require less water. तो ये लाइव स्ट्रीम अभी इधर ही बंद कर रहा हूँ. 30 मिनट का लाइव स्ट्रीम हो गया ये भी. ऐसे भी अभी नेक्स्ट लाइव स्ट्रीम में शायद क्वेश्चन आंसर या कोई नया चैप्टर आप ज्वाइन करके देखना क्या होने वाला है. तो बस ये लाइव स्ट्रीम बंद करता हूँ. अगर अच्छा लगा ये वीडियो या लाइव स्ट्रीम जो भी है तो लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब और नेक्स्ट वीडियो में मिलते हैं. गुड बाय एंड